Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are strapping in for quite a ride, looking deep into NVIDIA. I mean, the recent headlines have just been absolutely mind-blowing. This company, the one that famously started making graphics cards for PC games, they just smashed through the $5 trillion US market cap barrier.
5 trillion.
5 trillion. Yeah, it's a number that's genuinely hard to fully comprehend. To give you some perspective, that valuation is bigger than the entire yearly GDP of countries like Japan or Germany.
Developed nations.
Exactly. It's just an incredible scale of success. And think about the return since their IPO back in '99. Adjusted shares are up over 8,000 times.
8,000 times. That's not just making money, that's fundamentally shifting markets. If you were an early investor, generational wealth.
But what's really fascinating, I think, is why? Why this valuation? Why does the market see them as almost unstoppable? Our sources point to NVIDIA's really unique spot. They call it the underlying infrastructure.
The infrastructure.
Yeah, like they're constantly collecting taxes, selling the essential tools, the picks and shovels, whether the gold rush is in gaming or crypto or now AI, they seem almost unconstrained by cycles.
Okay, so let's definitely unpack that journey, because this wasn't just a straight lineup, was it? It feels like a series of huge strategic shifts, and each one was pretty risky. So our mission today is to trace that evolution, starting from, the PC gaming GPU origins, then looking at that unexpected crypto boom windfall, and finally landing on how they built this AI armor or dominance, really anchored by that huge long-term gamble on CDA.
Exactly. It's quite a story.
Right. Let's start at the very beginning. We're talking the 1990s, the birth of the dedicated graphics chip idea. Back then, the main idea was pretty simple, really. Efficiency. The CPU, the main brain of the computer, was getting overloaded doing everything. So you already had specialized chips for sound network cards. It just made sense to have a dedicated graphics card.
Yeah.
They handle all the complex visual stuff.
Yeah, and we even saw early versions, like in the Sony PlayStation back in '94, that use a dedicated graphics chip. But what really set NVIDIA apart, what made them break through, was finding the right technical path early. They focused intensely on parallel computing.
Parallel computing.
Yeah, specifically to speed up 3D graphics, which was crucial for that booming PC gaming market.
So parallel computing.
Yeah.
How would you explain that simply?
Think of it like this. Instead of one giant processor trying to do one massive calculation, you break that calculation into thousands of tiny pieces and have thousands of smaller processors work on them all at the same time, simultaneously.
Ah, okay. So that's how you get smoother, more realistic graphics.
Precisely. And that successful path really got cemented in 1999. That's when they launched the GeForce card.
The GeForce, I remember that. Huge deal for gamers.
It really was. It delivered that smooth, realistic 3D people wanted. And then the marketing kicked in. They very cleverly and successfully claimed the title GPU inventor, made NVIDIA the name everyone associated with graphics power. Led by Dan Vivoli, that effort really paid off.
But it wasn't smooth sailing to get there, was it? I read about a pretty serious early crisis.
Oh, absolutely. Their first near-death experience almost ended things right at the start. Their very first customer, back in '94, was Sega, and that was it. Their entire business depended on that one relationship.
Wow, one client. That's terrifying leverage. So what happened? Why did they have to cancel that contract?
It was an external shock. Microsoft released Direct3D for Windows.
Okay.
And Direct3D's approach fundamentally clashed with NVIDIA's chip design at the time. It created this huge conflict.
So they were forced to choose.
Exactly. And the choice was brutal. To survive, they had to pivot completely. They canceled the Sega contract, their only income source, and basically bet the entire company on designing a new chip from scratch. And get this, the sources say they only had about 6 months of funding left in the bank.
6 months? Why didn't they just try to compromise, adapt their existing design to work with Direct3D? Going for a totally new chip seems incredibly risky with that little cash.
That's a great question, and I think it speaks volumes about Jensen Huang's early vision. Adapting might have meant just becoming another generic vendor, maybe. He seemed to realize, even then, that to build something truly groundbreaking, something that genuinely accelerated computing, they had to take that massive risk. Stick to their guns on the best technical path, even if it meant potentially failing.
So they went all in.
All in. They pushed like crazy and somehow succeeded with the Reba 128 chip. It launched literally 1 month before they would have run out of money. Just incredible timing. And it was a hit, shipped over 1 million units by the end of '97.
Wow. Talk about surviving by the skin of your teeth.
Absolutely. An existential gamble, really,
Yeah.
showed their willingness to endure massive risk for a focused goal right from the start.
Okay, let's jump forward quite a bit, maybe 15, 20 years. NVIDIA catches its second huge wave. And this one seemed to come out of nowhere, right? Nothing to do with gaming initially, the crypto boom.
That's right. Suddenly, their GPUs weren't just for gamers anymore. They became effectively money printers for crypto miners. It was this massive kind of unexpected windfall.
Yeah, the market reaction was immediate, wasn't it?
Oh, totally dramatic. Between, say, 2016 and 2018, the demand, especially for mining Ethereum, just exploded. NVIDIA's market cap shot up more than 10 times, went from around $14 billion to $175 billion. The pure economics of it turned these GPUs into hot commodities.
I remember trying to buy a card back then. It was impossible. Mining farms were snapping them up before they even hit the shelves. Prices went crazy.
Exactly. You saw it firsthand, and there are numbers to back that up. Like a pretty standard mid-range card, the GTX 1060. Its price jumped from maybe 1650 RMB to nearly 2900 RMB just within 2017. And NVIDIA, they weren't blind to this. They knew exactly what was driving demand. Jensen Huang even said something like, "Our GPU supports the world's largest distributed supercomputing." He was acknowledging the mining phenomenon.
So they didn't just passively benefit, they actively leaned into it.
Oh yeah, they definitely participated. They started releasing specialized products. First, things like slightly modified gaming cards like a GTX 1060 with less video memory, or the P106 and P104 cards, which were more mining focused. And then later, they launched the dedicated CMP series crypto mining processors. These actually removed the display outputs and graphics features to make them purely efficient mining machines.
Smart move, capitalize while you can. And the money must have been rolling in.
Astronomical sums. In 2021, their total revenue hit a record $26.91 billion. And in just the first quarter of that year, crypto chip sales alone were $155 million. That was like a quarter of their total sales at that point.
But here's the kicker for you listening. That wave crashed just as fast as it rose.
It really did. The turning point was September 2022. Ethereum, the main crypto being mined with GPUs, switched its system. It moved from proof of work,
Which is the compute-heavy mining process.
right, to proof of stake, POS.
Yeah.
And POS basically doesn't require that kind of intense GPU power. So large-scale GPU mining just stopped almost overnight.
And the financial impact for NVIDIA was immediate and harsh.
Painful. Yeah. Q3 2022, suddenly revenue dropped 17% compared to the year before. Net profit plummeted 72%.
Ouch.
Yeah. And you saw headlines everywhere, especially internationally, lots of skepticism. Was NVIDIA just riding a volatile crypto bubble? Was the magic over?
But crucially, by then, they were already deep into executing their next big thing, their biggest bet yet.
Exactly. The seeds for the AI dominance were already sown long before the crypto crash.
So-
And that long-term bet, the real foundation for this $5 trillion valuation we see today is Cydia.
It's UDA.
This vision started way back, long before the current AI hype. It really came from their former chief scientists, David Kirk and Jensen Huang. They had this dream of taking the GPU's massive parallel processing power.
The same power that made games look good.
Precisely. And generalizing it, making it useful for any kind of heavy computation, not just drawing triangles for graphics.
So they launched CUDA in 2007, this unified computing platform for their GPUs. You called it revolutionary?
It was, but it was also what we could call strategic failure number 2, choosing persistence over short-term profit.
Because it wasn't an immediate moneymaker.
Far from it. Wall Street, they hated it, basically. Analysts were super skeptical. They saw CUDA as being aimed at this obscure corner of academic and scientific computing,
Yeah.
not a mainstream market.
So the investment was huge, but the initial target audience was tiny.
Exactly. And that huge investment significantly cut into NVIDIA's profits for years. There was a long period where their market cap just kind of languished, hovering around maybe $1 billion, a tiny fraction of today.
Were shareholders complaining? Was there pressure to ditch this science project?
Oh, absolutely. You can bet management faced pressure, focus on the profitable gaming cards, cut the spending on this CUDA thing that only a few researchers used. It wasn't an easy sell internally or externally.
And then you have that classic tech problem, right? The chicken or the egg dilemma.
Mm-hmm. Developers won't write software for a platform if there aren't many users. But users won't adopt a platform if there's no software.
So how did NVIDIA crack that? How did they build the ecosystem?
That was the clever part. They leveraged their existing massive install base of GeForce gaming cards. Millions of gamers already had CUDA-capable hardware sitting in their PCs, so developers could start building applications knowing there was already a potential audience, even if those gamers weren't initially the target market for the apps themselves.
Ah, okay. Build it and they will come.
Yeah.
But make sure they already own the hardware.
Kind of, yeah. They pushed CD relentlessly at conferences, supported researchers, built libraries. Slowly, applications started to appear. Things like, simulating fluid dynamics, complex medical imaging, financial modeling.
Okay, so the slow burn.
Yeah.
But when did the AI part really ignite?
The big payoff, the real turning point for AI, was around 2012. That's when AI researchers, deep learning pioneers, suddenly realized something.
What was that?
They realized that CUDA's parallel architecture, designed for graphics, was actually perfect for training the massive neural networks used in deep learning. There's this specific historical moment people point to. An AI expert named Alex Krzyzewski. He trained his groundbreaking image recognition model, AlexNet, using standard off-the-shelf GeForce GTX 580 gaming cards.
One gaming card.
Yes, and AlexNet blew away the competition in a major image recognition challenge. That result sent shockwaves through the AI community. It proved GPUs were the way forward for AI training. That really triggered the AI explosion.
And NVIDIA saw the opportunity immediately.
Instantly. Following the AlphaGo win against Lee Sedol in 2016, another AI milestone, powered by GPUs, Huang officially declared NVIDIA an AI computing company. The pivot was complete.
And there was that symbolic moment too, right, with OpenAI.
Yes, hugely symbolic. Huang personally delivered NVIDIA's very first dedicated AI supercomputer, the DGX-1, to the then newly founded OpenAI. Elon Musk was there to receive it. And Huang's quote captured the ambition for computing and the future of humanity. The decade-long painful bet on CD had finally, spectacularly, paid off.
Okay, so CD is clearly the bedrock of their AI success. But to really understand how they manage that massive long-term, initially unprofitable bet, we need to look at other strategic choices they made, like decisions not to do things.
That's a crucial point, and one of the biggest examples is strategic failure number 3, although you could argue it was actually a strategic success in discipline. That was their decision to walk away from the mobile chip market.
Smartphone market.
Yeah.
That seems huge to just abandon.
Absolutely massive. You can kind of pinpoint the moment around 2013. Xiaomi launched their Mi 3 phone, and it featured NVIDIA's Tegra 4 processor. That chip turned out to be the sort of swan song for their mobile ambitions.
So they had a presence, they had chips like Tegra in phones and tablets. Why pull out when smartphones were becoming the biggest tech market on the planet? Didn't that just look like they couldn't compete with Qualcomm or Apple?
To many outside observers, yes, it probably looked exactly like that, a failure to compete, especially analysts just looking at unit volumes and market share. But Jensen Huang framed it very differently. He clarified NVIDIA's mission. He said their focus had to be on building computers that ordinary computers cannot. Meaning they needed to dedicate their resources to areas where they could make a unique contribution through acceleration, through high-performance computing, not fighting commodity battles in the mobile space where maybe their unique advantages were less critical compared to, say, power efficiency or modem integration. They realized chasing that massive mobile market was draining resources and focus from the areas where they could truly lead, like HPC, like AI, like professional graphics.
So walking away from billions in potential mobile revenue actually enabled the deeper investment in things like CUDA and the future AI dominant.
Exactly. It wasn't just about catching the right waves. It was about knowing which waves not to chase. It required ruthless focus and strategic sacrifice.
It paints a picture of this core philosophy then, viewing compute power, or Helene, as the fundamental eternal weapon.
That's a good way to put it. They see that core competency accelerating computation, and they leverage it wherever it applies most powerfully, whether that's AI or autonomous driving, the metaverse, robotics, even crypto for a time. It's the constant thread, but applied strategically only where it makes a unique difference.
So summing it up, the $5 trillion valuation isn't just about AI hype today. It's the outcome of decades of work. Catching those 4 big waves, PC gaming, crypto, auto, AI, but all of it standing on the foundation of that really long, often painful commitment to CUD.
Precisely. That CUDA infrastructure, built quietly for years when many weren't paying attention, turned out to be the key that unlocked everything else.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it really strikes me that the NVIDIA story is fundamentally about resilience. It's about sticking to a long-term vision, often when it looked, well, not very profitable or popular in the short term.
Yeah, and that connects directly to some really interesting, almost counterintuitive advice Jensen Huang has been giving lately. In speeches at places like Stanford, Taiwan University, he's been remarkably blunt about success. He basically said that real success demands enduring a lot of suffering and hardship.
That definitely cuts against the grain of the typical Silicon Valley narrative, doesn't it?
Hmm.
The sort of effortless genius myth.
It really does. But maybe his most provocative point was about expectations. He actually said that one of his greatest advantages is having low expectations.
Low expectations. How is that an advantage?
Well, his reasoning was that people with very high expectations often have correspondingly low resilience. When things get tough, when setbacks happen, which they always do, people with super high expectations might crumble or give up more easily.
I see. Because reality rarely matches sky-high hopes perfectly.
Exactly. He argued that success doesn't really spring from pure wisdom or brilliance, it comes from character. And character, he says, is forged by hardship, by weathering those periods of suffering, not by constant success or easy wins.
Okay, so if we connect that philosophy back to NVIDIA's journey, we saw the near-death experience with the Riva 128 gamble. We saw them pour money into CDIA for years, sacrificing profit, facing skepticism. We saw them walk away from the huge mobile market to stay focused. The common element isn't just smart ideas. It's the endurance through the difficult periods, the resilience born from accepting the hardship.
Which leaves us with a pretty interesting question for you, the listener, to think about. If achieving that kind of massive long-term impact, like NVIDIA's $5 trillion status, truly requires navigating these extended periods of suffering and financial pain. And if, as Huang suggests, high personal expectations can actually reduce your resilience to handle that suffering, then maybe the path to breakthrough innovation isn't always about aiming higher and higher with our expectations for immediate results. Maybe, just maybe, it involves cultivating the humility, the character, to accept that struggle and suffering aren't obstacles to success, but perhaps necessary ingredients for it.
Having low expectations is a superpower for resilience. Definitely food for thought. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the strategic evolution of NVIDIA. We'll catch you next time.